Big question here for Friday morning. After playing 73 minutes, started the game for Borussia Dortmund against Barcelona. Brings up the question once again, where should Gio Reyna go, if anywhere, in January?
Man, okay, so let's analyze this situation first. So Borussia Dortmund, in terms of their standing in the Champions League, they are not guaranteed a top 8 spot and a bye into the round of 16. They weren't before this game, and really, no matter what happened in that match, win, lose, draw, they wouldn't be guaranteed that spot. But they are almost certainly, I think it's pretty close to 100%, that they were going to be in the top 24 of the Champions League phase and therefore move on in the competition. So Nuri Sahin had some house money to play with in this game against Barcelona. That comes midweek when they have Hoffenheim on the weekend back in the Bundesliga. And consider the position of Borussia Dortmund in the Bundesliga right now. They are massively underperforming to their usual standard. They are on 21 points. They're in 6th place, right? They are 12 points off the pace of Bayern Munich leading the way. Bayern's going to win the title. I think that's pretty much over. But they are not even top 4 yet. And making the Champions League is paramount at Borussia Dortmund. I think Nuri Sahin knows his job is in big jeopardy if Borussia Dortmund's not in those top 4 spots, and very, very soon. So what did he do with his lineup? Having some house money to play with in the Champions League, knowing he's got a massive game on the weekend, needing to improve his place in the Bundesliga table, he plays a bunch of kids. Not all kids. He plays a mix, right? He plays some guys that you wouldn't expect to be in this lineup.
Some squad rotation there.
Doranville, Reyna, these are not guys that are typically in a Borussia Dortmund lineup when you have a meaningful match in front of you. He's also got some guys that are coming back. He's got some injuries. Julian Brandt is injured, supposed to come back this month. He's got Nicolas Sula out, so he starts Emre Can as a center back. This just was not an ideal moment for Nuri Sahin to go for it against Barcelona. Now, they end up losing the game 3-2, and they were in it thanks to Guirassi's goal, his penalty kick in the 60th minute, and the goal he scored in the 78th. And you could even argue that they missed some clear chances. The number of offside calls against Borussia Dortmund was maybe indicative of the mix of that group, by the way, on the attacking side. And Barcelona, Barcelona's very good. Like, you would have a difficult time beating Barcelona no matter who you rolled out if you're Borussia Dortmund. So what I'm trying to say here is I don't look at this, the 73 minutes that Gio Reyna played starting for Dortmund in the Champions League against Barcelona, as indicative that suddenly Gio's in Sahin's plans. Like, I don't see this and go, you know what? I feel comfortable that Gio Reyna's going to get a bunch of playing time moving forward. It's possible that he will. It's possible, again, especially with the injuries. And Julian Brandt being out is the big thing here. Because when Brandt comes back, Gio's on the bench. I just don't see any way around that conclusion. Because Gio doesn't play. He's not the speedy guy. He's not going to take Jamie Gitten's place, right? That's not going to happen. When Adeyemi is healthy, he's not taking Adeyemi's place, right? That's not going to happen. You know that there are only so many places you can play Gio Reyna. He's not a 6. He's more of a 10. He has a role, a very specific way of playing that can be useful against certain teams. But if you have a player like Brandt, who's maybe going to do more of those things, has more experience, who you trust, Gio's going to lose out. So, yeah, Rob, the question is, should Gio leave?
Should Gio leave? I mean, to your point, this was kind of a shop window sort of a moment for him. And so that maybe puts your thought into mind that Dortmund is definitely open to moving him. I saw on another show Stu Holden speculating that he thought that Spain might be a good destination, that he thought that he had the profile of a La Liga player, and I look at the Spanish league, and there is a team in the Spanish league that Stu Holden does have an ownership stake in. I was going to say, is there some nepotism ties to hinting towards a Mallorca move?
I don't. That's only that's what nepotism means, Rob. But
nepotistic friends and family, right?
Oh, I guess. Well, are they friends? I don't know what their relationship is. How the whole?
I feel like Stu Holden is probably American friendly. Yeah.
Okay. So it's that. Okay. It's more like okay. I don't know about. So that's a lot of that comes down to wages. It comes down to money, right? There's some money things there. Of course, we're a year removed, roughly, from Gio Reyna making a choice about a loan that turned out to be a disastrous, spectacular failure, right?
Yeah.
And that was the move to Nottingham Forest. And that was sort of predicated on this idea that Nuno Espirito Santo, represented by the same people that represent Gio changed his agent right at that moment. In fact, I had heard through some back channel stuff that there was a very different opinion at Dortmund as to what Gio should do. They did not like the Nottingham Forest move. He was pushing for it. The owner, again, the agent gets involved. His dad gets involved. I mean, make no mistake about this. Claudio Reyna is very, very, very involved in Gio Reyna's career at this point, still, despite everything. And but I don't know. I mean, it's a lovely idea to have him go to Spain, but you have to have a willing partner. I'm of the opinion, without knowing what the destination has to be, without having a clear idea on what that looks like, okay, go look at the Bundesliga table, look down the Bundesliga table, and tell me where you see that maybe there's somebody who could make a safe, soft landing space for him. Like, could he go play at Gladbach for the remainder of the season? Could he play at Werder Bremen? Could he play at Augsburg, Union Berlin, these kind of clubs? Could he find a place? Could he go to St. Pauli, maybe help save St. Pauli from relegation? I don't know. I mean, you have to look at their rosters and their managers and how they play and whether those be good fits, and all those things are moving pieces. And again, there's the money issue. Without getting into like the detail, yes. I am of the opinion that yes, Gio Reyna needs to take another swing at this. Last year was a bad move, but that doesn't mean you don't try again. Just because Nottingham Forest didn't work out doesn't mean that you can't find a decent place to play for the remainder of 2024-25. Because I do not see, for that club in this moment, I do not see a lot of minutes for Gio Reyna. If he wants to come off the bench, get 10 or 15 minutes every appearance at most, fine. But those 73 minutes he played in the Champions League on Wednesday, those were more minutes than he had collected in his last 5 appearances for Dortmund. And I don't think one game shows us that he's going to suddenly fall into a rich vein of playing time.
Yeah, that's wild to put that in perspective. Just that one game, not even a full game, massively multiplies his minutes played. In the chat, we'll go there. A no name says he should go to Genoa or another lower mid-table team in a top 5 league, if possible. And in looking down the table in Germany, like you said, St. Pauli, it would be an interesting story for him to go there. But one of the criticisms of the move to Nottingham Forest was that's a relegation, threatened team.
What
maybe a creative, borderline luxury player that we think Gio might not have a place there. Yeah. It might be like a comfortable mid-table team that's looking to add to maybe like get them up into those, maybe into the outside competition for maybe Europa or like that 4th spot. So those are like teams just outside of there, just below Dortmund. And Stuttgart, Freiburg, Mainz, Werder Bremen, Gladbach, like you said. I mean, fan favorite Union Berlin, and they've had Americans there in the past as well. That might be interesting. But do you think that moving down the table in Germany is better than Spain?
I don't know about better. I think he could be okay in Spain. I mean, at this point, again, we're getting all picky about this?
No, just really? Playing time where he's not going to be suffering, right? We don't want him to suffer.
I do not care. I mean, obviously, there's also like the personal element of it. Like, Gio has to be comfortable wherever he goes. Loans are always difficult because you weren't, the incentive for the team to play you has to exist. Right? There has to be an incentive. So if you go to a club that is comfortable, why would they play you? We're comfortable. We're good. We've got our guys. Like, we know our guys, and we've got a squad we can trust. If you are in desperation and you've got relegation staring you in the face, do you play the 22-year-old kid who's got limited minutes, who, as you described, is a creative/luxury player who doesn't defend at a level that most of those clubs at that end of the table would need him to defend? No, probably. What's the incentive here? Again, this is the mix of problems that Gio faces is you've got to find somewhere where it's this perfect, what do they call it? The Goldilocks thing with the planet that's got to be the exact right distance from a sun with
Yeah.
the right kind of orbit and all this stuff, the right size. This is the Goldilocks problem for Gio Reyna. He's got to find that perfect spot that's not too desperate, but isn't too ambitious. Because if they are too ambitious or isn't already having too much success, because they won't need him. Too much desperation, they won't play him because they have to trust older, more experienced players who defend him more.
And they have a little bit of money too on top of it.
Yeah, and there's that too. Who's paying the wages? How does all the money work out? Like if Dortmund is fine paying his wages and just letting him season, going somewhere where he'll play, then yeah, he may have his pick of a number of clubs. But there's of course, any squad adding in January has to figure out how to meet the rules of the league they're in. So that usually means moving players around, outs in addition to ins, all those things. I don't. This is purely a shot in the dark, right? But I noticed that Brest right now is in 11th place in Liga. Right now, they're having a very good Champions League campaign. They've been one of the surprise teams of the Champions League. But in Liga, it's not going all that great. And I'm wondering, like maybe that kind of. I mean, it's I'm sort of shooting for the moon because they're having a good Champions League campaign. But if you're talking about a team that maybe has some room, will be willing to play a younger player with limited minutes this year, I'm just thinking maybe that's that kind of place could be the right kind of fit. Liga is not a place that we think of immediately for a loan option. Maybe it's La Liga, maybe it's lower down the Bundesliga, maybe it's even Italy, as No Name said. But at this point, you've got to be open to any possibility. Like I do think it's a level. Like I'm not sure I want him to go to Holland right now. Like I feel like he maybe a little bit higher, but he would find attacking success in that league probably.
Yeah, no doubt. And this might be—I don't want to be cynical here, but how many moves does Gio Reyna have in him before he becomes a what could have been story?
We're not there yet. And I know that the argument, we haven't even mentioned MLS as a possibility.
Yeah,
That's out there.
Yeah, there has been some eye rolls from that suggestion, but what do you think about that?
Well, I think that's all wrapped up in our psychology as soccer fans. Because it's very difficult to have an honest conversation about whether or not Gio Reyna should play in Major League Soccer for a while. Right? Because when Landon Donovan says it, considering his history, people immediately get up in arms because, they feel like Donovan, ran away from Europe when he had a chance. And they don't want Gio to follow in those footsteps. We still have some shame. This is why people don't like Landon Donovan. Right? Because they could carry all this shame as American soccer fans reflected back because he left Germany at a young age. And even though he tried things later in his career, it was already too late. We'd already made up our minds, a lot of people. So anytime an American has the possibility of leaving Europe to come to MLS, it feels like a violation of a pact that we didn't actually make with them, that they're supposed to represent us in the world stage. And we spent a lot of this show talking about anti-American bias. And I think a lot of us believe that if a player like Gio Reyna, a very talented player, clearly talented, no matter what his issues might be, if he leaves Europe at this point in his career, that's a defeat for us, and it only adds to this perception that Americans can't hack it, and then we've got to deal with that moving forward, and we'll never win a World Cup, and now I need to talk to my therapist.
We could just be like Zlatan and just be so clearly the best player that, national allegiance just can't, it's like Pulisic said in that clip, the 50-50, decision between you and another player. But I guess you got to make it to the point where there is no 50-50s, that you are just 100% the best player in whatever squad you go to. And there's just no possibility for the manager to leave you out just based on some sort of perception or generality that they might have in their psyche. But we've done a lot of soul searching with our nationality during our show today. Sign of the times.
Look, man, I'm proud to be an American. No matter what I said on this show, no matter what concerns I might have about a lot of things, I'm still happy to be red, white, and blue through and through, Robert. I know you got all that dual national stuff going on. Too complicated. Pick a side. Okay.
Yeah, it's funny to look back on it when I was a kid. It's like, if both countries asked me to play for them, who would I choose to, represent on the international football stage? And, as if that was something that I would ever have to burden myself with deciding.
As long as the dream is alive, you should be allowed to consider the question. right? I
Yeah.
got a 3-year-old, and it's a funny thing. I'm not being super serious with it, right? His mom is from Puerto Rico. He could one day maybe represent the island of Puerto Rico. A little bit of a lower bar to do that than play for the United States men's national team. But I imagine this day where he's like, I got to choose, Papa. Do I represent Puerto Rico or do I wait for the Americans to call?
Wait for the. Oh, we'll see. See how the situation plays out. How about that?
Yeah.
You know what? Should we put any sort of a wager on
On the
the
MK Derby?
the
Oh
the
no, I don't want
MK?
wager. You're gonna give me you got to give me a goal and a half if I'm gonna do that. I got to get a
Oh,
goal and a half at least.
I'm not. I'm not. I don't know how the lines are. So that would Liverpool have to win by like
By 2 goals.
3-3-1?
By 2. Yeah, they'd have to win by 2 clear goals in order for you to win the bet. It'd
All
have
right,
to be
fair enough.
3-1 or 2-0.
I,
All right.
I honestly think it's going to be a 1-goal game, but I think that's fair. If you look at history, I think that that the betting, I don't even know what the term is, but yeah, history would weigh in favor of that. So I accept the
Yeah.
one and a
You
half
think?
goals.
Hold on. You think history would say that the team that's atop the Premier League table and the Champions League table might have a better shot, have a good shot of beating Fulham? Is that what you're saying?
Some might say.
Some might say.
Don't want to
Some might
speculate
say.
too much. And then
Yeah.
we did not pick our hip hop 11, so maybe over the weekend we can put some more thought into our hip hop.
Yeah,
Starting
I'm wondering
lineup.
if maybe that needs to be an independent video, but we can talk about it. We need to drill down on that. It needs to be a finished product. Anybody who wants to chime in on the Hip Hop 11 is more than welcome to do it. Please do. Please send us your thoughts on all of that.
Yeah, go back to Monday's show if you want to hear the pool of players that we selected to be added to the Hip Hop 11 on Monday. I think.
Can I make a request since we are sort of in added time and we're just throwing some stuff out there? Look, if you're watching this, please subscribe to the show. That's obviously a big deal. As I mentioned earlier, please tell somebody about Morning Kick Around. Like there's no ad budget. The only thing we've got is my Blue Sky account, the show's Blue Sky account. That's about it, right? In YouTube, if YouTube decides to throw the show up in front of anybody who doesn't know about us, that's the only way we're going to get more listeners, more viewers. So we need you to tell somebody, tell somebody that you know is a soccer fan. Morning Kick Around is here, and we're doing cool stuff. We do clip the show up every day, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday that we do the show. We clip it up, so it's easier to share. So if you see anything that you like, oh, that's really cool, or I really like that opinion, or Jason's an idiot and I want to share his idiocy, you can do that, right? You can put those things on socials, share them with your friends, and let them know that we exist. That's a good idea.
El Kikiko tomorrow.
No.
MK Derby. All right, we'll leave it be. All right, have a good weekend, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Your morning's been kicked.